Is it live right now?
Not on the one that I wanted it to be on.
Yes, people are on.
Hey folks, we're having technical difficulties again. I can't see anything. We're trying a new setup, and as usual, we're struggling.
Oh, hold on. Very close up.
Can I tap dance?
Why is it so close up?
We have 22 people watching though. We appreciate that. Stick with us for 1 second, and hopefully we'll be on.
I don't know why it's so close up.
Upside down. Duska. You know, Duska is just a 50 cal. Of course, it's Russian, so of course I know it's better. Are we still upside down?
No, now it's facing me. And it's super close. Why is it so close up?
Oh, Lord, this sucks.
Oh, never mind.
Hey,
Zoom was on. We got it. We got it.
We have terrible picture quality, though. Does this look as bad for everybody? Music well. Ta-da! We got the echo taken care of. Atlanta Light. Reminds me of the movie Airplane.
Is it better?
How is that? Is the quality really bad on y'all's end? That looks a little better. Okay. All right, so I'm going to have to try to look at the camera.
Oh, the camera's down there.
Hey, William West, how you doing, brother?
Just a little.
Mariah wants me to scoot down.
Yeah, that's better.
I look like I'm riding through the ghetto, though.
Well, I could switch the camera to that side.
Oh, it's not a big deal. We're going now.
People out again.
All right, we got Ken Fannin. We got Atlanta Light, Music Well. William West is with us. I just had to come over from Staff Sergeant Badass myself, so. Atlanta Light, what's tonight's topic? Well, Pastor Fox, we got a couple of topics this evening. One is Pastor Fox recommended this book on one of our comments. You can't read it. It's called Total Resistance by H. Von Dock. I just got it in the mail today. It's pretty neat so far. I haven't got to read a lot of it, but I hope to talk about that some. There's Mariah in the background. We had a little bit of a fun. You know, I can't do the comments and this. You may have to.
Okay.
Stay nearby and tell me what I need to.
Okay.
We had kind of a fun thing happen. So, some folks we interact with on another forum found a thread on 4chan, which I was not familiar with, but this thread on 4chan was wanting to talk about us. It was talking about the channel, and was comparing us to another much larger channel, and it was kind of fun to watch. So we might talk about some of that, mostly because they just had questions about us and some misconceptions that I probably want to clear up. I don't know. What am I missing?
Just Texans being funny.
Oh, Texas being funny. That's pretty much par for the course.
Case of troll. Music Well says we might want to set up some mods.
Yeah. Actually, I'm surprised some mods weren't in here. That's a good point, Music Well. Thank you. I don't know how to do it from here, though. Well, Mariah will play with it. We'll try to figure it out. Tex, you're exactly right, sir, and thank you for bringing it up. The gun control stuff feels different this time. I don't know what's different, but something feels different. Like they might make some headway this time around. I don't know, so we need to talk about that. I'm not a giant fan of the NRA. However, they may be, they're definitely under fire right now, and it may be time to re-up my NRA membership just because I might need to make a statement. I don't know, $25 is It's not an insignificant sum of money to us, but it may be $25 well spent. Adam Rushing says hello from Alaska. Hello.
Hello, Debbie.
Texos is here. How are you, Texos? It's always good to see you, brother. He's been with us a long time. Swamp Fox. And Debbie Williams. Hi, Debbie. She's in Virginia. Jessica's here. Hey, Jessica. Text by ammo. What part of Virginia, Debbie? We got both of my brothers live in the Norfolk area. One's still on active duty, and the other just gets separation anxiety if he's too far away from his brother. So, I mean, they're both my brothers, but there's two sets. There was me and a brother a year apart. Then there was 6 years to another brother, and then there was a year between him and the last brother. So we had these two sets, and the bottom set is pretty much attached at the hip. It's kind of cute to watch. But anywho, that being said, grandson of Kong is here. Howdy from the Pacific Northwest. How are you, sir? Tex says he may rejoin the NRA too. I'll be interested to watch. I haven't checked Tex's channel here since this tragedy. I need since the Florida shooting. I need to check up and see what he has to say. In your base, they want to take assault rifles again, but they're not assault rifles. They're militia rifles. Why, yes, I fly. Ah, yes. He says, I'll pay your $40, brother. Join today. Has it gone up to $40? Thanks. Hey, Kevin, how are you, sir? That tells you how long it's been since I've been a member. Yeah, Atlanta Light, as much as I disagree with the NRA, they are the strongest voice. Gun Owners of America, yeah, I'm not familiar with them again. But I agree, you know, they're not perfect. But you know what? When you get that big, you can't be perfect. You know, I think you have to give up a little bit of ideological purity. They're pretty good. They're pretty good, you know? I mean, there's not a whole lot. Maybe they're a little more political than I would prefer. But it's a political game, so, you know, I mean, what are you going to do? Woodbury, Georgia. Mrs. Sparky, how are you, ma'am? Where is Woodbury, Georgia? I am not familiar with that one. Texan says his latest video is pretty wild. You didn't get those robots of yours in there, did you, Tex? Polite people may not want to view. Grandson of Kong NRI membership is one way to get DC's attention. How many folks we have with us? Are we ready to... 35 watching, that's not too shabby.
We don't have any of our regular moderators, though, so do you want to make somebody temporary, or what?
Can we do that?
I don't know. You just have to add them on the moderator screen.
Go to channel.
Oh,
add moderator.
Oh,
no, we can do it. Tex, if I make you a moderator...
That's funny.
You know, I'm going to do that just to see what comes of it. All right, Tex, you're going to be a moderator. Kevin, we're going to make you a moderator.
That's good.
And who brought it up originally? Was that Atlanta Light?
I think it was Music Well.
Oh, Music Well. Music Well, do you mind being a moderator? All right, that gives us 3. That should oh, Swamp. Oh, hey, Biddy's here. All right, Biddy's on the case. Then we're safe. How you doing, Biddy? Okay, so.
Hey, Chris Broom's here.
Hey, Chris, how are you, buddy? I actually tried to text you today. For some reason, I hadn't saved your phone number. I don't know why. But that stuff I was talking about it at church Sunday. I tried to send it to you tonight before I had to look you in the eyes tomorrow and tell you I hadn't sent it. And I failed again. Anyway, Sky News Daily, good evening. Brian Moore up north here in Pennsylvania. How you doing, Brian? I got a son in Pennsylvania. All right, so let's start with the 4chan stuff. And I'm not familiar with 4chan, but apparently it's some kind of discussion board. And if and some of our viewers were actually on this discussion. So if you're with us and you were part of this discussion, pipe up. I'd like to talk to you. Someone says we have our Varg. I was not familiar with who Varg was. I have since found out that his channel is the Thulian Perspective, and I've seen his channel, but I've never actually watched his videos. But I didn't know he was Varg, and we just found out who Varg was. And he seems like an interesting guy. I am not a Varg. Let's just make that very, very clear right now. But let's see what we got. Some of these 4chan guys are pretty rough. I will not put the link because I think even Tex might blush at some of the stuff they've said. Where are we at? Dadgummit. They do think Varg has a better beard than I do, which that's hurtful. I don't think there was any need to go for the jugular like that, whoever that was. I think we could be Amish. Someone says we're living like a subhuman Neanderthal because we're desperate to escape the power of the Jew. That defeated and hopeless to fight back to take over dominion of their states. I'm not sure who this is. I don't buy into all the Jewish conspiracies. Jews are like, I meant to look it up, I forgot. There's what, like 24 million Jews worldwide. They're like 0.1% of the population. You know, if that few people can dominate all the rest of us that well, then we'd kind of deserve to be dominated. I refuse to be that kind of a victim or that kind of a weakling that some tiny little portion of the population spread out worldwide is somehow a threat to me. I don't buy it. If someone wants to know how I am on the Jewish question, that's probably they say JQ. I'm assuming it's Jewish question. That's where I'm at on the JQ. You know, there's good Jews, there's bad Jews, there's good Christians, there's bad Christians. I don't buy into all the Zionism garbage and all that stuff, and that insults you. I apologize. I think a lot of people who do buy into that stuff aren't really buying into the whole we hate Jews thing. They're really just trying to find some hook to hang this feeling they have that something's wrong in the world. You know, that there's oppression going on, that there is a conspiracy. And there is something wrong in the world. There is oppression, there is a conspiracy. It's not, you know, all the work of Jews. I'm sure there's some Jews involved, there's some Christians involved, there's some Muslims involved, there's some atheists involved. But it's not this big Jewish plot to eat Christian babies. All right, so that's me on the Jewish question. Someone prefers Varg because they never held the whole church burning against him. This Varg is an interesting character. I'm sure some of you guys know him better than I do. We're away from the comments for a section right now, too, while we look through this 4chan stuff.
I think there's a way to have the pop-up chat.
My wife is smarter than I am about this stuff. Jeff Everett says hello from the extremely liberal state of California.
Yeah, people know what you're talking about.
Texan is subscribed to Varg. Hey, in your base, it was the /Paul thing is where I was at. Mm-hmm. Atlanta Light, a good trigger. Do not go, do not go, do not go. All right, you know what? You guys are talking about more interesting things than I am. Let's see what you guys got going on. All right. Biddy Brew is sick again. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Biddy. You got the flu? I'm not a fan of bump stocks. I think they are just a gimmick and useless, but the simple fact they are on the chopping block in the language of any array of fire. Yeah, no, you're right, Atlanta Lights. Bump stocks are, I mean, they're just a toy. You know, that's all they are. They're fun. But I have to reflexively resist any and all gun control at this point. It doesn't even matter if by some weird chance it made sense. It doesn't. But if it did make sense, I would still resist it because they're not going to stop there and they're going to go farther and farther and farther. But yeah, bump stocks are a toy. They make a weapon less effective. Oh, look, Texan on the gun thing. I visited a gun store yesterday and they were darn near sold out. Well, there you go. Remington's been on the verge of bankruptcy for a couple months now. All the gun manufacturers were struggling a little bit. Maybe this will be what clears out their inventory. All right, Tex. I don't know if you're saying what you thought about Varg. I haven't caught up that far yet. Varg is basically a European survivalist. Still have binary triggers. Anybody know? I'm not familiar with that, Petrie. Maybe Frank. Maybe someone else here knows what you're talking about. I'm not sure what a binary trigger is. Is that a two-stage trigger? Support open borders for Israel. Well, wait. I lost everything. Where'd it go? Moving to Idaho in 2 months. Oh, Jeff Everett is going to the Redoubt. Clancy Russell, did you get your AR going? Yes, and we're going to do an update on that soon. I've been meaning to do an update forever. It's been raining bad. We've been working 60 hours a week. I just haven't been doing what I should do. But yeah, Clancy, the problem ended up being that the guy who built the rifle for me originally, and I don't know how he did this, but he didn't get the gas tube pegged. He had the roll pin in there, but it wasn't in the gas tube. and then when I fixed it and put the roll pin in the gas tube, I didn't tighten the gas block enough. So I've got the gas block tightened up. There's a small chance I might have to replace those pins in the gas block, but they're holding for now, so we'll see. But yes, the rifle is working. We've got the fixed stock on it. I should go grab it and bring it in here real quick, but it's pretty much set up the way I want it. The next thing I'd like to add is the new bayonet. The Marine Corps has a new bayonet that's really cool, and hopefully I'll be able to add that at some point. But yeah, the rifle's good. We're gonna get it. I may have a pull fire, release fire. What are we missing here? Pity poo feels like poo. What is 4chan? Chris, you don't want to know. King David, how you doing, sir? Go back up just embrace. Yeah, you can pop out the chat.
I'm gonna try to squash it down and move it over.
Okay. We're gonna see if we can get back on this 4chan here for a second and still keep you guys with us.
Does that make sense?
No.
Where should it go?
Here, let me do this.
Okay.
All right, stick with us 1 second.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, and then where did it? There we go.
Oh, sweet.
All right, we're back. Or not. Okay, there we go. What is 4chan? How can I get your opinion on one survival theory I developed? Got no Atlanta Light, just post it up there, buddy, and we'll see what you got. Opinion on one survival theory I developed. Got into an argument. Biddy the flu again.
Poor Biddy.
Okay, 4chan and 8chan. I didn't even know there was an 8chan. Are similar to Reddit, I think, but are built on the blockchain, if I understand correctly.
Knows way more about it.
Tech sold out of MSR. I said the perfect survival. Oh, this is Atlanta Light survival question. I said the perfect survival food to grow was potatoes, since they are grown underground and have a lot of what you need. I said I would grow that over just over about any other. I said I would grow that over just about any above ground thing. Peanuts too. I wouldn't argue with that in the least. I'll be honest with you. For us, it's sweet potatoes because white potatoes don't grow, or Irish potatoes don't grow real well here. And I think sweet potatoes are a little bit more complete nutritionally than Irish potatoes. But Irish potatoes have a lot of calories. Crazed Chipmunk, no more compromises on the Second Amendment ever. Yes. Swamp Fox, there's the conspiracy of the gun manufacturers that they caused all the killings. Yeah, I've heard that before too, Swamp Fox, that sometimes the gun manufacturers, you know, were like they were actually pulling for Hillary because they wanted to, you know, see demand go through the roof, and sometimes they do these things to drive up. Okay, Music Well got Wicked Sensation. In your base, the live stream delay is like 2 minutes, yikes. King David, God bless you guys. Thank you, sir. Where did we go? Oh, AK, all AKs sold out. Only 3 ARs left. Thank you, in your base, working 60 hours a week. What profession? William, I'm just in construction. I do kind of a weird construction with metal buildings, but they're industrial buildings that house like pumps and switchgear and stuff. And we build them at a plant and ship them out on flatbed trucks all over the country. Okay. Modern sporting rifle, aka AR. You know what, grandson of Kong? I'm leaning towards calling it just a modern fighting rifle, and just being honest, you know, because at its core, it is about, you know, defending freedom. It's a fighting rifle, and we shouldn't hide from that. In fact, letting them. I specifically dislike the term modern sporting rifle. I do not like that term. To me, that's glossing over the purpose of the AR, the AK, all those, you know. They are a fighting rifle. They are designed for fighting, and there is nothing shameful about that. It takes men armed with rifles to defend freedom and stave off tyranny, and we shouldn't shy from that. We should own that. Yes, it is a fighting rifle. That assault rifle term, I actually don't mind the assault rifle term, but guys get wrapped around the axle about that. I get more comments on that one video. I've got one video called "You Need an Assault Rifle," and I keep getting angry comments from guys who probably don't disagree with me on much else, but they're like, "You're an idiot. Don't say assault rifle. That's a liberal term." You know what? I'm sorry. The libs don't get to tell me what language to use. They don't get to control the language in the conversation. That's their big trick. You know, they want to make this word off limits or that idea off limits. Or they want to make us ashamed of this, that, or the other, and try to take up some moral authority. And I refuse. I mean, I refuse to participate in that whatsoever. That's just giving them way too much. They're not smart enough to control the language. I'm sorry. All AK sold out. Chris Broom, bump stocks are like bent machetes. They'll cut, but only a little. Kevin Fannin says I offer about $350 now. That's amazing. Got 7, but you know what? My lower, I got an entire lower from Palmetto State Armory for $130 shipped. And I mean that was the collapsible stock that I ended up replacing with a $60 fixed stock. But still, a complete lower, trigger group, whole 9 yards. Just ready to have an upper slapped on it, $130. So I don't know what I put an expensive barrel on mine, but I think I had $100 in everything. I had $180 in everything but the barrel. So with my upper short, my barrel, and my lower, what's that? 280, about 310. So then a barrel, you know, if I hadn't gotten that expensive barrel and paid that guy way too much money to assemble it incorrectly, I might have been a lot cheaper too. You guys are 40 or 40. Patty, I'm not entirely sure what you mean, but I've decided to take it as a compliment. Thank you. Good evening to you too, Mark. King David's going to pray for us, which we always covet. Grandson of Kong, Ruger and Smith & Wesson were only $500 2 months ago. I should admit this, grandson, because Tex is on here, and I hate to encourage him. But I was actually going to buy an AK-47 with my bonus we're supposed to get here in the next month or so to use for a series of videos. And then I was going to turn around and sell it because I don't want that much evil in my house. You know, it might start affecting the children's minds or something. But if the prices are about to jump up because of a big increase in demand, I might put it off. I can't wait to see, we're on a 2-minute delay. I can't wait to see Texas' response to that. Okay, yes, Crazed Chipmunk, you're right. No more compromises, period. If you look at any of the Western countries, England, Austria, Ireland, sophistication always started with the public safety improvements. Yes, Adam. Yes. You know, Michael L. Kudzu, I have heard, is a really good prepper food. That's probably West Virginia Radio Man. Great to see y'all live. Thank you, WV. Kevin and I were talking last weekend about the Cobra revolver, and he went to look at one and said the gun store was full of folks I don't know buying everything they could. Yeah, but you live in Texas, Kevin, so that could just be a regular Tuesday night. I don't know. Humble Homestead is with us. How are you, Humble? It's good to see you, ma'am. Since you're here and we're talking, let's plug the meet and greet. March 10th, noon at the Golden Corral in Macon off I-475. If you're anywhere in the area, we would love to meet you. Someone had mentioned in a comment that, well, I'd like to come, but I'm not interested in the militia. This is not a militia meeting. Humble Homestead kind of came up with this idea. So as the name implies, it's a humble homestead, not really a militia. Not saying that if you're interested in the militia, don't show up. I'd love to talk about it. But mostly this is a homestead networking event. You know, just people who homestead are going to get together and break bread, and that's pretty much it. You know, but you know, big significant things come out of that when people just get together and fellowship and break bread and meet each other. Things develop. So we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a really good time. It may even be a template for something else we do in the future. If you have a channel, and you want to be involved, it's no cost or anything. Just let us know. Make sure we're all on the same page, and then please, we'll include you because we would love there to be a decent turnout and get to meet some people and form some friendships. All right. Humble Homestead, there's a major delay on my end, but amen on the gun control. We let go of that right, and we have lost all rights. Some of that stuff I have to Google to know what y'all are talking about. You know what, Humble Homestead? You know what happens too? The very first thing we give up our guns, they come for the children next. And that's not just hysterical, hand-wringing. That's what's happened in the past. That's what happened in Nazi Germany. It's what happened in the Soviet Union. It's what the French Revolution weirdos, if you ever want to be exposed to some weirdos, study the French Revolution. They disarm you, and then they come and take your children and start educating your children, re-educating your children to be their drones. The left wants us to give up our guns to protect the children. The truth of the matter is they want us to give up the guns so they can get our children. Because you know what? The left doesn't have children. And I know some folks, not everyone has kids, not everyone has to have kids. But the left really doesn't like kids. That's why abortion is the holiest part of their religion. They're on the left. They have to kill children. They despise children. They don't have their own children. They have to get control of our children in order to perpetuate their madness. And when there's a bunch of bearded fathers and mama grizzlies, standing around with AR-15s and 12-gauge shotguns, that gets more expensive than they're willing to. The cost of that is more. But once they get the guns, they have the children. And maybe that sounds a little alarmist or something, but history, the history is there. The history is there. It's how Hitler did it. It's how Stalin did it, and Lenin did it, and on down through the ages. They compulsory government education is a terrible thing to begin with, just awful thing. But when there is no buffer between a soulless, godless bureaucracy and your children, I don't like being this low. Let me get this low. There's a law, and I don't know if it passed yet or not. It was in Canada, so if any of our Canadian viewers are with us, maybe you can comment on this. But it was within the last year. There was a proposed law, I think in Quebec, where parents who did not support their children's transgenderism, transgendered children whose parents were not supportive of them being transgendered, could be taken out of the home. Now think about this. They say, I have heard literally, I know a guy here in our hometown who has a nephew who's like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, and his mother has got him diagnosed as being transgendered at 5 years old. And they're going to wait till he's 8 to see if they're going to start doing hormone blockers on this kid. They don't want to do it too early. They're going to wait till he's all of 8 years old before they make a life-altering decision about giving him hormone blockers to delay puberty. Okay, that's bad enough on itself. That's a level of, that's just evil. That's just evil. But reel it back to the 30,000 foot level for a second here. So they've decided that they can diagnose these kids at 5 years of age. Well, tell me, what kind of teacher, it wouldn't take much for a teacher to convince a 5-year-old child that, oh, you're a girl, you're transgendered. And this 5-year-old child's just got to once maybe say, yeah, who knows, maybe. And suddenly this teacher's convinced it has a transgender child on their hands. And then, if a parent so much as just goes, this teacher could bring the full weight of that government, I think it's Quebec, down on that family and take that 5-year-old child. Oh, he's transgendered, and they're not supportive. That is a level of just viciousness, vicious evil. If you don't believe in evil, if you hear things like that and still don't believe in evil, there's an old saying in church: if that doesn't light your fire, then your wood is wet. If you don't hear things like that and get so incredibly angry that you're ready to take up arms, then just stop and think about it for just a minute. The most dangerous place in a developed nation for a child is the foster care system. There's more now. That's a little bit of a false statistic because I know you're taking some of the worst, hardest cases and you're all condensing them in one place. So obviously there's going to be a lot of hard things going on there. And if you're a foster parent, you're doing the Lord's work. I'm not saying you're evil. I'm just saying it's a government system. There's only it can only be so good. Kevin Puryear, government-sponsored child abuse. Christopher Cunningham lives in Brennan, Georgia. Where is Brennan, Georgia, Christopher? World without rule of law. Good evening. Good evening, World without rule of law. I think I just saw you over at Step One Survival's podcast. Thank you for coming over. Dry Fire Faith, Revolting Men. How are you doing, sir? There's some conversations going on the side. Thank you. I love that. Christopher Cunningham, thank you. All right, Dry Fire Faith, the Smith-Munt Act. I do not know about it. Give us a description and we'll talk about it. Exactly, Kong. Look how well the government education system did with the Florida shooter. I have a family member, a very good-hearted, well-meaning family member, who put a meme up on Facebook the other day about you. She's a teacher. You want to arm me? And she listed all these things that she wanted to be armed with. School psychologists, school nurses, smaller class size, all this stuff. Yeah. And all I could think of when Mariah was telling me about this was, those were all the things that caused the problem to begin with. The more we've gone down this professional education rabbit hole, the worse things have gotten, not better. And our kids aren't even better educated anymore. You've all seen the 8th grade test from 100 years ago and stuff, and all the questions, and you're like, I could never do this. The more we take these professional teachers, and my father-in-law is a professional teacher, wonderful man, godly man. I'd turn my children over to him in a heartbeat. This other family member is a good, well-meaning person. She's responsible. But the more we've gone down this system, and the more the secularists have taken over it, and the humanists, and all the ists, the worst education's gotten. They're not even educating the kids that well. And so they take all of our children, they put them in a big group with no protection, and they expose them to, I'm about to insult teachers now. I'm on a roll. But how often do we hear about, some teacher getting in sexually abusing some student, or some moron saying, "Oh, well, here's a bunch of unarmed people over here," and in the meantime, while they're waiting for them to be sexually assaulted or shot, they're failing to teach them the things they would need to know to succeed in life, and they're teaching them a whole bunch of hogwash about science fiction that they spend lots of time and money making. I'm sorry, I'm babbling. Roll Eek he would have logged off already. But it's stupid, and on top of that, it costs insane sums of money. The school system here in our little county in northeast Georgia, there's about 25,000 people in our county. There's like 1,200 people in our high school. We have one high school, and I think we have 4 or 5 elementary schools and a middle school. $33 million last time I checked. This was several years ago. $33 million we spend on education in this county. And having been a product of the education system of this county, I can tell you we are not getting the value for our money. I'm going to move on. Let's see what I missed. Humble Homestead, you're on a roll. Oh, I missed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, the music well has to run.
He's coming back.
Oh, he's coming back. Good. Okay, so we're back to Dry Fire Faith with the Smith-Munt Act. I haven't seen. If you've answered that yet, Dry Fire Faith, I haven't seen it. Grandson of Kong, thank you for inspiring that little rant. Music will be back in about 15 minutes. Oh, look, I knew I should have been careful. World without rule of law works in a public school. It's fundamentally broken at its core. Texan, the more that money they give schools, the worse it gets. Exactly. The more money we give them, the worse they get. It's stupid. Need to start calling gun violence untreated mental illness instead. Yes. And you know what? You look at all these shooters and you want to see what all these mass shooters have in common. And it's literally every single one of them. They're all on powerful, psychoactive. That's probably not the right term, but they're all on these powerful mind-altering drugs, prescription drugs, and have been for years. Every single one of them. The Sandy Hook kid and Adam Lansing, I think he was, the the Charleston shooter, every single one of them. We don't even have to go down and list them. They're all on these drugs, and it's not, to me, coincidental that all these shootings started happening as psychology and psychiatry started, drugging these kids up all the time. It's not, people talk about causation and correlation. One of them are on these drugs, but we're going to worry about the guns. Yeah, I was talking to somebody. I think it was, it may have been Kevin last weekend. But we were talking about how when I was growing up, I'm only 42, and I was still a kid. Now, by the time I got to high school, this wasn't the case anymore. But when I was a kid in the early years, you could take your hunting rifle to school with you and put it in your locker. You would walk into school with a hunting rifle and put it in your locker because they didn't want you leaving it in your truck in the window on the gun rack because someone might take it out of your gun rack. All right? There was no school shootings. All right? You literally. But now suddenly we're doping all these kids up. We took the guns out of the school. We put the legal drugs in the school, and now suddenly there's school shootings. I'm not very smart, apparently, but somehow I just don't see it being the guns. All right, where are we missing? Dry fire faith, evolution is a religion. And you know what? Oh, gosh, you guys are great this evening. Evolution takes more faith than real religion. Because what do the scientists tell you? Everything is knowable. Everything is understandable. Everything follows set laws. There's nothing that we can't understand as long as we can observe it. And then they take you back to the beginning and they say, but there's something here we don't understand and can't explain. And you're just going to have to trust us that there's a reasonable explanation. A belief in, let's not even get specific down to my religion, in a religion period, says there is things you can't understand. Don't try. These things, take them. Science tells me you don't need faith, and then when it gets down to it, you've got to have giant faith that they're going to figure it out one day. Deism, a belief in the supernatural, just goes ahead and says, yeah, you got to have faith, buddy. Evolution needs way, 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 way more faith than a belief in God ever did. There's definitely something we don't understand out there. There's no way around it. There's something we don't understand. We exist. We're here. We came from somewhere. Science tells us you can't create matter or destroy matter. So somehow the matter got here. They can't tell us how. So there is something supernatural. So yeah, far less faith to believe in a higher power than it is to believe in science. All right. Is that where we were at?
No,
We're missing a lot of stuff, guys, and I apologize. I know we're going to get to this, and we might even get back to the 4chan thing, but you guys are way more interesting than 4chan. Northwest Georgia, Haralson County. All right, Christopher, you're not too far from us then. We might do another one of these meet and greets here in North Georgia, so if we do, we'll definitely would appreciate you coming up. I'm going to go backwards until we find something. Evolution is a religion. All right. Lefty Gatekeeper. Lefty Gatekeeper. I'll be interested to see this. Stoneman Douglas has 2 armed police officers on duty. Why did they stand down? Several children at Stoneman Douglas interviewed stated there were multiple shooters. Many videos taken down. Yeah, the left is really... I don't know if it's because they think this is their moment and they want to reduce all opposition and try to get some gun control through. And to be honest with you, I don't think they really think they can get gun control through. What they want to do is divide the right. They want to take those moderate voters, those centrist voters, and separate them from the rest of us. Or they want to make Trump choose, they want to make Trump alienate those voters or alienate his base. One of the two is really what all this is about. And so far, he seems to be walking the line really, 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 really well. But you're right, as usual. I don't usually put too much credence in all these the shooting was fake thing, because I do honestly believe our society is sick enough and we abuse boys and young men enough that I can understand that this really would happen. It's a sign of how sick and dying our culture really is. But there is some stuff this time around where you're like, come on, guys, really? Alrighty. Therapeutic foster care changed when they stopped diagnosing the kids. There's no treatment. Ken, it sounds like that you're involved in the foster care system, and again, foster parents are doing the Lord's work. That was not an indictment of foster parents. Mrs. Sparky, master's teacher here, and completely agree with you. We now homeschool. You know what, Mrs. Sparky? We might want to talk to you at some point because we're homeschooling our younger set, and sometimes we're not entirely sure if we're pushing them hard enough. Catfish, the head of our schools makes more than our governor in Virginia. Interesting. Grandson of Kong, dinner bell is ringing. I'll try to get back in a bit. Yeah, no, don't miss that dinner bell, buddy. William West, the country is fundamentally broken, but things will have to get worse before it can get better. Yes, because we're in the salt. What's the hard times make for hard men, hard times make for soft times make for soft men make for hard times. We're in the soft men phase of that cycle. Alrighty. Okay, Dry Fire Faith is telling us about the Smith-Moont Act. It prevented the government from using propaganda against the United States people. It was repealed in 2012. Huh. Lefty Gatekeeper says psychotropic medication, and King David says that they're SSRI drugs. I don't. I think psychotropic was the word I was trying to come up with earlier when I started tripping over my teeth again. And I don't know what SSRI drugs are, but I'm sure King David knows. Swamp Fox, the school system is like the military infrastructure. The more money they give, the more money they spend. My last duty station was as a quartermaster, so you were everybody's friend. There's Christopher Cunningham in Northwest Harrison, Georgia. WV Radio Man, in one big vote for the center of the hardwood forested mountains of north central West, by God, Virginia. There's not too many places I live other than Northeast Georgia. West Virginia might be one of them. The Oregon College shooter was on meds as well. I remember that, grandson of Kong. It says on the insert, the side effects are suicide and homicidal thoughts. That's King David telling us about the SSRI drugs. So literally, they know for a fact that these drugs cause suicidal and homicidal thoughts, but it's the gun's fault. All right, world without rule of law took Bibles out. There's the first problem. Yes, sir. The Hollywood bank shooters used benzodiazepines to stay cool. Were those the guys who had all the body armor on, Chris, and put up such a fight before they finally got him? Okay, Texans gotta go. Thank God Biddy's here because we just lost all of our temporary moderators. I will message you on YouTube about the program that is being made to contact congressmen and senators. All right, buddy, I look forward to it. Thank you.
That was like 20 minutes ago.
Oh, so that was 20 minutes ago, so he's probably gone. Sorry, Tex. I don't think it's so much dragging the kids, drugging the kids. It's the media and the video games promoting the violence and the fame. Possibly, who am I? I'm no expert. But the bottle does say homicidal thoughts on the side, so I don't know. Lefty Gatekeeper, Satanic Law. And Rob Bevington had a knife every day. Damn soy boys. Okay, there's a big delay on all this stuff, guys, so I apologize. Ogre Dad's with us. How you doing, Ogre Dad? So I'm sorry we're running behind on you. Weird. What changed? Drugs are mind control. Chris says crazy has been around a long time. A guy did a shooting and a bombing of the schools in the 20s or 30s. Yeah, that was about 25, Chris, and he actually bombed it. And what happened is it was a private school. This was sort of the first big mass school attack in our history. It was about 1925. And it was a private school run by the families of the kids in the school. And this guy was he ran the finances. He was the treasurer or something. And the school was bankrupt. And he put a bunch of dynamite underneath the school and blew it up in the middle of the school day. It was a terrible thing. Hey, Tammy, we're glad you watched this. Sounds like you're probably gone. That was 10 minutes ago, but thank you for stopping in. Dry Fire Faith, the Smith-Moon Act was repealed in 2012, and it now allows for the government to use propaganda against the United States people. That's interesting. Here's my question about that, Dry Fire. You know what? Since the government passes the laws and the government enforces the laws, was that law, was it doing much good? I don't know, but still, it's chilling that they went ahead and started not even pretending anymore. Humble homestead. Many foster parents are abusing kids. Yes, I knew some when I was younger who's, we thought they were a great family. They had all these foster kids. They were really admired in the church, and it came out later they were abusing them. World Without Rule of Law says the school superintendent in Connecticut also makes more money than the governor. WROL there, without rule of law. I've read that Connecticut is in a, is it Connecticut? Yeah, it's Connecticut is in a bad way financially. That they might be the next state to kind of enter this danger zone that Illinois is still in, by the way. I don't know if you've watched our video about two signs hard times are coming. We talk about the Illinois financial crisis. It hasn't gotten any better. They got some loans to get them through to the next crisis, but they're coming again. Frank Petrie, you are what you are. Make the best out of it. Ogre Dad, yeah, this is how far behind we are. I'm sorry about this lag. Ogre Dad says we are definitely in the soft men cycles. Yes. Humble Homestead, public school is indoctrination. Yes. It's the Womp Fox. Yes, he's referring back to him being everyone's best friend when he was the quartermaster. Because when you lost your gear, so I tell you, I lost a gas mask one time, and gas masks are serialized and they're pretty expensive. And what we've been doing is we were doing this night op where we were doing it was a training mission. They were inserting us. I can't remember the phrase, so I'm not even going to try. But they'd slung our Humvee underneath a helicopter, and then they put the squad in the helicopter, and they flew us in, and it was my Humvee they slung beneath the helicopter, and I'd been sitting on the hood of my Humvee, while we were waiting for this whole thing to kick off, and my gas mask, I'd put my gas mask on the hood of my Humvee, and so when they took off, the helicopter, the Humvee was swinging underneath the helicopter, my gas mask fell off. Well, so I had to report my gas mask missing, and I had to pay for it, and there was this investigation. And the funny part about the story is later on, like a year or so later, they come to me and they've opened this whole new investigation into my stupid gas mask. I'm like, I already paid for this. I reported it at the time. What's going on? I wasn't worried because I'd done everything right. Turns out someone had found my gas mask wherever it had fallen out in the field and had taken it, and someone was missing had lost their gas mask. And so whoever found my gas mask gave it to the person who was missing theirs. And it turned out there's this old trope in the Marine Corps that there's only ever been one thief to ever be in the Marine Corps. Everyone else is just trying to get their stuff back. Well, apparently there had been this round robin of gas mask stealings through this whole unit, and it was 8th Com Battalion, which is its own funny story in and of itself. We used to blame 8th Com on everything, or we used to blame everything on 8th Com. But so these guys had started stealing each other's gas masks, and none of these gas masks were missing. They were all like just one man down. This guy had stolen this guy to replace his, and this guy had stolen this guy to replace his, and finally, the last guy in line who got his gas mask stolen from him had a buddy who'd found mine, and so he got mine, and went to get it fitted or something. I don't know how it all worked, but they ran the serial number on it. Like, this isn't your gas mask. This is a guy over at 2nd Tank Battalion's gas mask. So it all came out, and there was this huge long line. But they had to come back to me to figure out whose gas mask did I have. They thought that maybe I had stolen someone's gas mask. But anyway, the point of all that was that the quartermaster was your best friend, because when you lost gear, he's the one who could make it all better. All right, SSRI's run. Oh, Viking Preparedness is here, and Sister Kate. All right, Pastor Fox, we got it in the mail today. Since you're here, we'll talk about it. Total Resistance, H. Von Dock. Just got it today. So far, for a little bit I've read about it, this is the book. This is the book. Pastor Fox, I don't know if you have a video on it. You might. If you do, please forgive me if I step on your toes. but since you recommended it to me, it's your fault anyway. We are going to mine the depths of this thing. There is a lot here. Total Resistance, H. Von Dock. I have just barely gotten into it, you know, like the forewords and the acknowledgments and stuff. And first off, this H. Von Dock guy is amazing. Let me read you just a little bit of his. I should have highlighted it. We believe it is better to resist until the last. This is written by a Swiss gentleman for Switzerland, so that's some of his verbiage. We believe it is better to resist until the last. We believe that every Swiss woman or man must resist. We believe that the enemy cannot be allowed to feel at ease or even 1 minute, for even 1 minute in the conquered territory. We believe that we have to inflict damage upon him, fight him wherever and whenever we have the opportunity. By speaking this way, we have clearly and explicitly indicated the purpose of this book. You know, he didn't have to say anything other than that one comment, and I'm like, woo! So I will try to put the link to this. I got it off of Amazon. I ordered a used copy, and they sent me a brand new one. But I ordered it right off the link Pastor Fox put in our comment. So I will just copy that link. I will try to remember to copy that link and put it in the description for this video. But you should be able to find it pretty easy. Total Resistance, H. Von Dock, if you're interested in the militia or the coming troubles, or if you're just a man who thinks you have a responsibility to your family and your community for the freedom and security thereof, this is an interesting book. I haven't read it yet. I mean, he may go off the rails somewhere in the middle, although I doubt it, or Pastor Fox wouldn't have recommended it. But what I've read so far, this is good stuff. All right. Have you addressed the breakdown of the family? Ooh, Sister Kate. Where to start on the breakdown of the family? So look, the breakdown of the family started... I guess I should probably ask for your opinion, Sister Kate, and go off of yours, since you're probably a little bit... anyway, your opinion would carry more weight than mine. But... gosh, how much do we want to go down this rabbit hole? We could start back in 400 AD if we'd like, with Clement of Hippolabadubidi, but I can never remember the name, who started redefining marriage who started injecting Roman ideas of marriage into the previously Hebrew ideas of marriage that Christians lived with. But for our current purposes, the breakdown of the family started...
Sister Kate says 1960s.
Oh, 1960s. See, hippies, yeah. I go back a little bit farther than that, Sister Kate, and if I step on your toes a little bit here, please forgive me. I'm not saying it. I wish there were more like in the world so that this didn't. But I really go back to 1919, 19, and giving women the right to vote. And I know that's gonna to bother some of you. I can only imagine what Humble Homestead is saying right now. Yeah, Biddy says it started when the mother had to work outside the home, and that definitely is very true, because when the mother came outside the home, then the children had to go to the government, and when the government got involved, then everything started going downhill. And if you go back to the French Revolution, that was a big thing in the French Revolution too. Right before the French Revolution. The French government was trying to force peasant women to work, and they were putting children who were still nursing under the care of priests, and they were actually feeding them basically sugar water. They weren't allowing them to get weaned off their mother. They were feeding them sugar water or sugared. I don't remember all the details, but yeah, certainly getting women outside of the home was a big deal. You know what? I'm sorry, not getting women outside the home, getting children outside the home, getting children away from their parents. But hey, David, how you doing, brother? But to go back to Sister Kate's, or I should say statement, I really believe in 1919, when women were given the right to vote, it changed something fundamentally in the American home. And no longer was there a patriarchal system with a father who took responsibility and a mother who helped him assert that control and authority. Now you had these two warring sides. And there was no peace, and no fault divorce came next, and we all know where we were after that. Look, it may be bothersome to you, especially if you're one of those rare women who probably should, vote. Uh, but you start looking at all the foolishness in our nation. It all came around after that 1919 when women got the right to vote. Uh, I don't think it's coincidental that after that date, none of our presidents had facial hair anymore. I'm just throwing it out there. But you know what? There are so many things that would have been different if women hadn't had the right to vote. World War II would have never happened without women voting. The Cold War would have never happened without women voting. Abortion would have never happened without women voting. The gay rights stuff and all these things. The Great Society and the social warfare, which is really what they are. It is social warfare. The social welfare platforms, like Johnson's Great Society and the Social Security Administration. All of these things they wouldn't have happened without, think about it. If you could roll back Social Security, if you could roll back OSHA, the EPA, lots of gun control happened. I think actually, you know what? I'm sorry. All gun control happened after 1919. All gun control happened after 1919. The federalization of schools and education that happened after 1919. Just a whole host of things happened at that point. You can really, well, I'm not going to blame the Great Depression on women. That there could have been something else going on there. But to me, it is not coincidental that we gave women the right to vote, and then the Roaring Twenties happened, and people lost their minds, and prohibition came out of that, and the speakeasies and the rum runners, and as soon as we reined in that craziness, bam, the Depression hit, and as soon as we reined in the Depression in 1936, bam, World War II hit, and we went straight from World War II right into the Cold War. And it has not stopped for 1 second since we gave women the right to vote in 1919. The chaos and the craziness has not stopped for an instant. Not saying the world was perfect before women got the right to vote. You have to always stop and acknowledge, the horrible sin of racism and the segregation and everything, and say, that changed with women's influence. So you got to acknowledge that. I would hope that would have been on the way to changing anyway. I think black folks were on the way to clawing and fighting their way out of that without the help of beneficent white liberals who then just took them out of one slavery and tried to ram them right back into another. That's neither here nor there, but you still have to acknowledge that racial minorities made huge strides since 1919. So for me, I'm sorry, that was a huge rant, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of comments. The breakdown of the family started in 1919. Women on equal status with men. I know that's very, very controversial. Hopefully Humble Homestead still shows up at our meet and greet, or if she does show up, she doesn't show up with a bat. But the question got asked, and I got to be honest. After that, it was no-fault divorce. Certainly, mandatory or compulsory education. Anytime you involve the government in the family, and you know what? Oh, I know from watching some of your videos, Sister Kate, you're real. I've heard you comment on domestic violence before, and it seems to be an area you're passionate about. When we let our enemies take domestic violence and turn it into a club to beat families with. And it's gotten to the point where, if a man, we're not tame lions as men. If we are tame lions, our women don't like us anyway. But, occasionally, men have meltdowns and we have explosions. And I think any man with a wife and children has had times in his past where he wished he'd handled it differently. And he's learned from those things and hopefully changed going forward. But under our modern system, we'll take those times and those instances, sometimes which are justified. I'm sorry, not every time a man loses his temper is it, and not some there is a righteous anger, and we've turned that into a club to destroy families with. And and the cops will come in and they'll white knight. I don't get along with the MGTOW guys on much, but they're right about this white knight and stuff. For MGTOW guy, if you're not familiar with MGTOW, it's men going their own way, and it's basically this whole movement where men are boycotting marriage and relationships with women, and sometimes even women entirely. Like they'll have zero contact with women. But one of the things they talk about is white knighting, when these other men will come into and try to act like a white knight who's rescuing a woman from another man. And the police are real bad about this sometimes, guys. They'll come into a situation and they'll want to be the heroes, and they'll jerk some man out of his own home, away from his children, and away from all of his possessions, throw him in jail, and slap some charges on him that could have lifelong effects, just because there's that legitimate drive inside man to protect women and to protect children, but we have so watered down the masculine, the natural masculine affinity for hierarchy and submission and respect for appropriate authorities. We've started cutting that out of our culture and out of our men. So this cop coming into this other man's home has no respect for that man's authority or that man's home, and is white knighting a little bit and looking for a chance. Maybe not looking for a chance, but is susceptible for the chance to be the hero and save the day, and maybe even assert his dominance a little bit. And next thing you know, we got a man who maybe had some lessons to learn, or maybe had some rough edges he needed to polish off. Suddenly he's in jail. Suddenly this home is ripped apart. Suddenly he's angry and bitter and separated from his children. And now we have what the left really wants. What the left's really goal is to have these women and children over here unprotected, and without guidance and leadership, because what do they want? They want those children. They have to have those children. They're not producing their own children. If you get to your adulthood without being perverted by the left, you're not going to change to the left at that point, because it doesn't make sense. It's stupid. But if they can get to the children and indoctrinate them when they're young, then they've got their next generation raised up, and a generation that is going to be like we saw with the Hitler Youth and the communist youth and all those. When they do get raised up and they are set, that concrete of their little minds, sets up and hardens. Boy, they're fanatical. So it's not just that there's a breakdown of the home, Sister Kate. There's a dedicated destroying of the home to make women and children vulnerable, and the way to do that, of course, is to get the men out of the home. And like I said, I don't want to be insulting to any of the women out there. We each have our role. We're created to fulfill certain functions, and we're also created to be this metaphor. And I don't know if we're losing anybody or not. Mariah's watching the comments. I don't know what our viewers at. There's this metaphor. Men and women were created to fulfill this metaphor. And we're going to go religious on you for a minute. Religious alert, warning. And the metaphor is Christ and the church. The husband in this metaphor, I'm not saying your husband is Christ or that he's perfect, but in this metaphor, the husband represents Christ and the wife represents the church. And the husband's to reflect Christ to the wife, and the wife is to model how the church acts towards Christ. This is powerful. When you apply that to your marriage, suddenly, whoa, wait a minute. Equality, complementarianism, no, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. So when you can take this family, which is a metaphor, a powerful living testament to how we're supposed to live and interact as brides with our husband, Christ, and you take Christ out of that metaphor, suddenly your family becomes those women and that woman and those children become a metaphor for atheism and for secularism, and you start seeing the ravages of those ideologies, writ small in the microcosm of that broken home, and you start seeing all the things you would expect to see in an atheist society in that little family. So that's that probably was more than you were looking for, Sister Kate. Sorry to go off on that rant like that, but the breakdown of the family isn't one of the evils. And you know what, I should pull back, and obviously I'm not speaking to Sister Kate about this stuff. She knows this far better than I do. She might disagree with some of what I've said, but she certainly accepts the big picture. Talking to more than just her, so you want to give my appropriate respects to Sister Kate. I wasn't trying to mansplain to her. What all have I missed?
Oh, everyone's just been chilling.
Hey, Dean's here. How are you, Dean? We were going to talk about the sex robots, but we got off of it. I thought you'd have fun with that one. All right, let me scroll back. Stick with me for just a minute, man. I missed a ton of be able to keep up with all of that except what Bird's saying.
He's just hello.
Burden's angry. I've been researching the Florida shooting. Yeah, the deputy standing down, Burden. You know what? If there's any one lesson we should take from this shooting, it's those 4 deputies standing around outside the school while those kids were getting shot in there. And you know what? I'm not even going to be too hard on those deputies. I should be. You know what? I'm sorry. They're deputies. They're not Marines. They're not soldiers. That's what we should take from this. Those guys, you know, they're not making minimum wage, but they're not making huge money. I don't want to say you can't count on the police. There's some really good cops tend to fall in one of 2 categories. They're either some of the best men out there, or they're some of the worst men out there. They're either out there to protect and serve and do good and feel like they have a meaningful job that impacts people's lives, or they're gun-toting bullies out there, you know, trying to lord it over their betters. And I'm sorry, that might insult some folks. Like I said, I don't mean to insult some folks. There's some really good cops out there. But to me, from the outside, they seem to be either one or the other. And you know what? You can't expect a man who's getting paid $15 an hour to put I shouldn't say you can't expect. Well, you know what? You shouldn't expect him to. It would be good if he did, but this is scripture too. We're going to go religion on it. What's it say in the New Testament? You know, for a good man, some would die, but I can't remember it. But it's a rare man who's going to go put his life on the line for you. One reason I love firefighters so much. So yeah, there were actually armed cops on the premises, sitting right there while the shooting was going on. Right? It wasn't even a matter of response time. You know, we all know the old trope about, you know, when seconds count, the cops are only minutes away. These guys were right there, and they were trained cops, and there were multiple of them, and they still didn't confront this 19-year-old moron who, as soon as he was confronted by a cop, laid down and put his hands behind his head. Okay, so when they say, well, we gotta be safe, give up your gun so you can be safe, that's not the case. And this Florida shooting proved it. There were cops there. They did not engage, and there was enough of them. There was 4 of them, is what I read, which is a fire team in the Marine Corps. You know, that's the smallest unit, infantry unit in the Marine Corps is 4 men, a fire team. You would send a fire team out on a patrol, fire team to attack a position of some kind. You know, you would expect a 4-man fire team to be able to function as a unit, and certainly be able to take on one man. Certainly one 19-year-old weirdo with mommy issues and psychotropic SSRIs. Anyway, I'm sorry, Dean. All right, what am I missing? Dean's. Oh, what did I miss that Pastor Fox said?
He just said firearms. We should have
Yeah. It's looking like they were ordered to stand down. All right, Burden's real plugged into this stuff. He pays attention, so if he's got some information, you should at least hear it out. Okay, these cops standing around just tells you the cops cannot protect you. You protect yourself. Second, yes, catfish, boom. Mark Galen, 38, there's a lot of cops today that have no business behind a badge and a gun. Yes. RLIC, officers had to decide their next move while having donuts with a spot of coffee. Lefty gatekeeper, Broward County Sheriff deputies are paid at a high pay scale. I worked on computers at their house. Also serviced Dells at Stoneman Douglas for 3 years. Wow, Lefty, so you know this area fairly well. One city cop ran toward the gunfire in shorts and a t-shirt with no weapon. See, that's my point exactly. You know, right? So here's this guy in shorts and a t-shirt, no weapon, and he's like, wah! You know. But then there's these four guys fully armed, probably had ARs in their cars, or at least 12 gauges, and they're standing around outside trying to figure out, what's going on. Gun-free zones are easy targets. KDE 439. I believe that's a name that's been around for a while. Is that KDE 439? I think I recognize your screen name from way back. If you've been with us for a long time, it's nice to see you, bud. Thank you. Rat Route's here. How you doing, Rat Route? Edward Jackson is proud to support Donald J. Trump against the fake news media. I'm gonna have a moment here. I'm gonna be real with you. We don't always show all of our works here, but I'm gonna show you one of my works. I did not support Donald Trump in the primary. I liked him. I thought he was interesting. I did not support him in the previous election. I was very negative on him that last time he'd run. But this time around, he was interesting. I was a big Ben Carson supporter, and I voted for Carson here in our primary in Georgia. Did not vote for Donald Trump. Not even sure he would have been my second choice, to be honest with you. At that stage. Now, our Georgia primary was early. Now you got to give me that. Remember, we had an earlier primary this last time in Georgia. So I hadn't had a chance to see everything yet. But since he has gotten elected, that man has not done one thing that I didn't approve of. I keep waiting for him to disappoint me, and he keeps going out of his way to earn my approval. I think what he's done, the policies he's put in place, every action he keeps taking, one of the best things for the country we've seen any president do since before Theodore Roosevelt. I believe that. He's been amazing. Edward Jackson loves Ben Carson. For God Lives wants to pay cops and teachers more. I'm going to disagree with you there, Sister Kate. I would like to fire all teachers because I would like to do away with public education. Wednesday, there was a church of 100 held hostage by a man. He was disarmed by one of the congregation, and when the police showed up, they shot the hero. Hokey smokes. Hey, Kevin, can you post us a link to that? Can you find the link and post that? I had not seen she had heard it. What no one is saying is those four men is that they trained for situations like the school shooting. Either their training is not effective or they failed to perform as they were trained. You are correct, Tina. Michael Harris says, woo! You must be watching wrestling. It keeps jumping on me, folks. No one in the military is going without a stop that. Julius, I'm not sure what you're talking about. There's probably a side conversation. Chris Broom supporting the bad laws. We'll talk about that at Sunday school in the morning, Chris. There's something going on the side. I'm not sure what it is. If we can get a moderator, if I'm missing something, don't worry about it. But it looks like the two Kens are Lemmy, Smash, Get Out. I don't know. If I get a moderator to look at that, it may be nothing. If I'm overreacting, thank you. All right, new vet on the block. Hey, Mark Myers, thank you for your service. Welcome to the channel. Okay, Julius is saying side conversation. All right, I'll butt out, Julius. Sorry. KDE 439, we have to train more good people. Only the good with training and firearms will stop the bad. Yes, good men with guns. Ken was talking about the church thing. Okay. Oh, I know, for God. Okay, Sister Kate. Now, I have the same problem. My father-in-law, who I respect greatly, who's a wonderful man, is a teacher. He's not a public school education teacher. He's not a public school teacher, but he's a certified teacher and a great man. My sister-in-law is a teacher. She's a good-hearted, loving, cares about her kids, really thinks she's doing the right thing. At the end of the day, though, the federal government's in control of it, and who's in control of our federal government? And I just don't know that there's any way to stop that other than to just get rid of the whole system. And I'm not saying no schools, because obviously there was a time in this country when we all think very fondly of the Little Red Schoolhouse, even though most of us never experienced that. But we think. Little House on the Prairie, Laura Ingalls Wilder, going to school with her lunch pail and her books and everything, and one-room schoolhouse. but the feds got involved, and a man named John Dewey. You all know the Dewey Decimal System. This guy had a way bigger impact on our education system than just the Dewey Decimal System. Total evil man, horrible, terrible guy. All wrapped up with communism and socialism, and I believe he was somehow involved with Margaret Sanger too, but had a huge impact on our modern public education system. It's rotten to its core. Good people, good people. I'm not saying it's the same thing with federal law enforcement. Lots of times the people at the ground level are fine people, good people, well-meaning people, but they're the very thin veneer behind the system that itself is rotten at the top and at the foundation. And there's these people there at the bottom level on shifting sand trying to hold up this rotten mess above them. Anyway, I won't go there. All right, Kevin gives us the link. Let's open this because we are going to read this. All right, you know what, Pastor Fox? Both our teacher kids do or will homeschool their own kids. This is none of my business. Tell me to shut up. What's going on with Janelle? We want to know. I'm sorry. Are we going to have the Torah observant prepper version of a Brangelina thing going on here? There just seems to be some hints going on in the background, but we can't seem to get a clear story. I mean, if what appears to be hinting at happened, it seems like it would literally be Brad and Angelina, our community's version thereof. But I mean, apparently, obviously, no one's ready to spill the beans yet. But they keep teasing us a little bit. This is a master level public relations campaign. That they're playing here. When the news finally breaks, it's just going to be this huge wave of relief. All right, none of my business. I'll back out. I'll butt out.
Oh, they just left. Oh wait, no, they're still here.
All right. Homeschool is the ideal. It's the best way for the kids. All right, good night, William. Jabroni's got to go. Soup's on, but love your channel. What? I lost him. He just left, Zach. I think he had to go to work. Oh, well. Viking preparedness, OPSEC. Yes, sir. That's all you had to say. Still, very fun. We're getting a big kick out of it. It's our version of a soap opera here. For OPSEC reasons, we will not read out World Without Rule of Law's comment. Oh, the Smoking Locust. Your thoughts on Obama? Woo. Now, Biddy's been catching up on that, too. Thoughts on Obama placing a bid for Secretary General of the UN, please, sir. Hadn't heard anything about it recently. I know it was on the table at one point. Here's the deal. The UN, I mean, they pay lip service to Obama, but they don't really like him, I mean, he wasn't even able to get the Olympics over to Chicago when that whole, for that, whatever Olympics that was. He's not... Those folks have a set hierarchy, and and they've been promoting their people up through the ranks for so long that they've got this bureaucracy and this feudal system set up. There's a word I can't think of. They have to send down bennies to the people underneath them, so the people underneath them support them. So they're kind of locked into this succession system right now. In order for Obama to be Secretary General, there's a lot of people who would have to have their little hopes and dreams and plans and their little piece of the pie screwed up. So I don't expect to see him get that to become the UN Secretary General unless there's some kind of game changer where we go into some kind of barely concealed warfare between Russia and China or some of the big wigs, and they need an American voice to use as against us. I don't see that happening. I don't believe China can afford to go to war with America right now. Their economy is real shaky. They have to have access to our market. They have to ship us their junk right now to prop up their system. China can do nothing that would
interrupt that flow of trade back and forth because it's the only thing that's keeping them propped up right now. And Russia, I know there's a lot in the media and the news about Russia and Russia this and Russia that. Someone posted a comment on one of my things recently about, don't poke the Russian bear. Guys, the only threats that we face are from within. We are going to collapse from within. We're going to kill ourselves. Russia's not a threat to us. Russia's not a threat. I mean, Russia can't really take over Ukraine, and Ukraine's next door to them and much smaller and poorer. And Russia can't even quite get that going. Russia's got a demographic problem that's being underreported. It's a huge problem for them. Their population is sort of dying of these diseases of despair even faster than ours does, alcoholism and suicide. They're not forming families, and they're not reproducing, and their economy's poor because the price of oil is below $100 a barrel. So the two countries that could make something like that happen completely switch the dynamic in the UN to get someone in that could be, a useful a more useful anti-American tool. They can't really afford to pick that big of a fight. China because they need access to our markets. Russia because they're just spent. And Russia's always been really, really good at the propaganda. They've always been really good at making you think that they're more powerful than they are. There's a story about Stalin right after World War II was terrified of the nuclear bomb, terrified of it. Was convinced that we were going to use it to just march through Russia and overturn communists. But I think it took them 7 years, or I can't remember exactly. But it was something like 5 to 7 years before they were able to test their own. Maybe it was 10 years. And for those 10 years, he played it off like he didn't care. It wasn't that powerful. It wouldn't affect them. The whole time they were working behind the scenes and by the way, the Rosenbergs were actually communist spies to steal the nuclear secrets from us and get his own bomb. So Russia's always really good at that. They're really good at playing chicken. They've got a great poker face. But folks, the threats to us are from within. The threats against, I won't even say America, because America is so divided against itself right now. The threats against the people who are got their heads screwed on straight is all from within. We don't have to worry about Red Dawn. We don't have to worry about China. North Korea, maybe a little bit. I know there's some debate on that. I believe North Korea is, shackled to China, and China uses North Korea as a barking dog, when they need to get America's attention and try to wring some concessions out of us, they kick North Korea's cage and get them to start barking and then tell us this, and we'll shush them up. North Korea, 80% of its economy comes through China. 80% of its economy comes through China. That's their part. That's the reported part. North Korea couldn't even get missiles off the launch pad there for a while. 6 weeks later, 6 months later, they're launching ICBMs. Well, no, I'm sorry, I don't buy that. China shipped them those missiles. The point of all that is to come back to Obama at the UN. I don't foresee anything happening that would shake the UN up enough to make them to mess with their own little fiefdoms there. They're very territorial. It's very corrupt, and a lot of people would have to risk their little organizations and whatnot for that to happen. So I don't see it happening. Certainly Obama would like for it to happen, and they may try to find something for him to do somewhere. It won't be Secretary General. Most likely, maybe they make him a roving ambassador, and him and Angelina Jolie go to refugee camps together. I don't know. All right, Biddy Boo's got to feed the baby. Pat in China receives $350 trillion a month of exports, killing American jobs. Yes. KDE 439 agrees. If America falls, it will be from the enemies from within the system. Alrighty, Ken, if you look up Amarillo, Texas news, you'll find it. Yeah, the cities are bad. Northwoods Homestead, we are socialists now. Very, very true. All right, let me see if I can find this article that Kevin just sent us. You know what,
He posted another link.
Kevin? That link didn't work. They've already taken that one down. Let me see if Rosenberg for patsies. Possibly lefty, but I still think they were socialist, and I think they thought they were doing what they were accused of. We are our own worst enemy.
Try that one.
Let's try this one. Page not found. Kevin, they are, they don't want this story seen, apparently. That's, both those links you sent me, I can't get to pull up, I'm sorry.
WCAM checked in.
Hey, WCAM, how are you, sir? It's good to see you. I don't see where you're at, but Mariah saw you. Oh, there you are. Smolo, Finger Lake Prepper. Finger Lake Prepper's with us? I didn't see him check in either. Joe Biden introduced the gun-free bill. Go figure. Okay, so where were we at? Total resistance. It's a thing. You should do it. Hey, Finger Lake Prepper. Sister Kate, have you got your garden started? We actually got some seedlings. I should say Mariah. Mariah went and got some seedlings. I'm holding off a little bit this year, Sister Kate, because I'm putting some credence to this whole solar grand minimum thing. I think we're going to start seeing the freezes happen a little later and a little later. So, typically our last freeze is anywhere from, mid-March, sometimes late, sometimes early April. So normally we have things planted in late February, and we will this year too. We're about to get, the brassicas in, the broccoli, help me out, baby, cabbage, kale, collards, lettuce probably. We've got some carrots started, meaning Mariah. So we've got some of that little stuff started. I am way behind on getting the manure hauled in this year. I've got to get busy on that. It's been raining so much I can't get the truck up to the garden. So I'm behind on getting the manure in. Fortunately, we did a good job at it last year. So, I won't necessarily have to do quite as well this year, but I still would like to. And then we've got all the wood chips to go up too. So the short answer to all that long babbling, Sister Kate, is that yes, sort of. But we're not as far along as we normally would have been in years past, simply because, like I said, the weather's it's been really rainy and wet, and I just expect to get a late freeze. It's been in the high 70s, and occasionally it's touched 80 here over the last couple of weeks, which of course is testing my faith in the solar grand minimum. But I can't help believe if we're that unseasonably warm in the middle of February, there is going to be a winter weather event come roaring back at some point in March, possibly April, January, February, March, April. Yeah, April. So we'll see. I must not think it's too likely because I've let my firewood get a little low, but there you go. It's the head knowledge versus heart knowledge, right, sister?
Okay, but Sister Kate, you did inspire me to get my hands dirty though. So her last video, she ended by saying, "Go get your hands dirty." So I was in my garden weeding and prepping the soil and stuff. So thank you.
All right, Kevin's going to put the link to that story on the You're going to put it on the Revolting Man Facebook page, right, Kevin? Not the personal. You can put it on the personal. I'll put it on Revolting Man, but let's try to make it on the Revolting Man so that other folks can see it. He just ordered the DOJ to find a way to ban bump stocks and other accessories, and he says he's looking into more. We want to grow potatoes like you. I'm sorry, Burden. Sister Kate's just, she gets precedence. The sweet potatoes, Sister Kate, yeah, they're amazing. There's just no way around it. They're just amazing. Anyone do sprouting during the winter months? Josh Burlett, we actually, what Sister Kate was just talking about with the sweet potatoes, we do sprout our own slips of the sweet potatoes. We take, hey, Cheryl's with us. How you doing, Cheryl? we'll take a potato from the year prior, and it's kind of like a regular Irish potato. You'll see little sprouts coming off of them, and you put that down in a jar of water, and it puts off sprouts. And when they get 4 to 5 inches tall or have 2 leaves on them, you can break them off and put those in another jar of water, and they put roots off. And that's where we get our slips for that year's sweet potatoes, is from last year's sweet potato crop. And that process actually should have already started, and we have not yet. But again, we're going to wait a little bit later to put them in this year. So, but yeah, that's something we should be doing right now. And in fact, I was just giving some sweet potatoes away the other day, and I noticed they were starting to put those little buds out already. So, yeah, it's time to start sprouting the sweet potato slips.
Is that what he's talking about?
Isn't that what sprouting?
I mean,
Josh, if I just babbled about something you have no interest in, I apologize.
I don't know.
Do you put down a fall harvest? We do not. We let it lay fallow. Because for us, our growing season is, certain cover crops might not get killed back by might not be held back by the water. They could actually put out seed, reseed themselves, before we start planting in March or April. So for me, to me, it sounds like I'm asking for a lot of weed problems for the cover crop. Plus, my father-in-law and I, we haul in so much manure every year that we really don't feel like we need the green manure.
That's funny because I just said we're interested.
Okay, so Mariah says we're interested. Mariah does most of the gardening. I do the manure hauling. I do the tilling. I do some of the planting that requires more of the.
When I was pregnant.
I think I do the planting most years.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. I do most of the initial planting, like all the collards and corn and peas and stuff. Her dad and I do most of that, and then she does a lot of the other stuff. But anyway, so. She's probably more involved in the garden than I am. So if she says we're interested, there's a good chance we're interested. We haven't done it. Ken's phone is dying. I apologize. Look into green manure crops. Too wet here in Louisiana, says Mark. Snow here in Arizona. Go figure. World without rule of law. All clay where I am. Tough stuff to get a root into. The sweet potatoes like the clay. WROL. I'm sorry, there's no easy way to say that. We have really hard red clay here. Now we've amended a lot up there at the garden with the manure, but we have planted the sweet potatoes straight in the red clay, and they did great. No problems whatsoever. It's an amazing plant. Boiler Room Radio, how are you, sir? Hold on a second, Boiler Room. Burden says he has a sister, a niece, and 2 cousins who are school teachers, all idiots. Mark Galen, 38, we do not have livestock. We just don't have enough land for it. We only have 2.4 acres. We do have chickens. We get a lot of manure out of the chickens. And that goes on the garden, but we don't have any animals other than that. Boiler Room, the dog is doing really well. He's not in here right now. We've been keeping him inside a lot, or on a leash. He doesn't seem, he seems to be okay, but he's a little lethargic. I don't know, maybe he doesn't like being kept that close up like that. We've got him a 50-foot run with a 15-foot runner, but he still just stays on the porch all day long until late at night. But sometimes about 10 or 11, we'll let him loose and let him do a little patrol. He stays close to the house at night. It's during the days when he likes to go wandering. So, but he's physically, his wounds are healing, all the swelling's gone, the hair's starting to grow back. He's physically fine. The veterinarian told us he's a real small Pyrenees. He only weighs 94 pounds. He weighs 94 pounds. Anyway, so dog's doing good. Thank you for asking. Will last year's work at chicken feed? I think so. I don't know why they wouldn't. The only thing I wonder is if they might be too hard for them to. I don't know. That's just a gut reaction. They're real hard and firm, but they could probably eat them. I don't know why they wouldn't. Homeschool convention in Atlanta. Missed it. The homeless Mexican. I'm sorry. Someone asked about the doggy homeschool convention in Atlanta, April 5th and 7th. We'll have to look into that. Too wet and cold to be in Ohio. To be in Frank Petrie, is that too wet and cold in Ohio yet? Sugar Bear, can you see a scenario happening that could force the population to be microchipped? I don't. I mean that is going to happen. It's not a scenario that I could see happening. Of course, as a Christ follower, a follower of the way, we believe that at some point a mark is going to be put on everyone but believers' hands or foreheads, and it seems like if it's not an actual microchip, it will be something that functions like a microchip. So that will happen, and it's something obviously that I think we should oppose vociferously every time it gets mentioned. John Rockefeller had a bigger influence on the education system. I could see that, David. I bet if we looked, there's probably a lot of connections between John Dewey and Rockefeller's money. I don't know that for sure. That's speculation. But I bet if we looked, Burden's going back through the comments, I think, and finding the interesting things. It takes a lot to keep his mind engaged. He's a very active mind. Okay, Mrs. Sparky, look up Teach Them Diligently. It's the Christian Homeschool Convention in Atlanta. We will look that up, Mrs. Sparky. There is a good chance we will try to pop in on that. Drones, man, drones. Yeah, drones are, I don't know what to do about drones. He is healed, boy, the room, thank you. How is the seller coming? Sandy Hollow, how are you? Who me's here? Hey, who me, how are you? All right. Ken Fannin, please see Sugar Bear's question. If that's the forced chipping one, then forced chipping is against human rights, isn't it? You would think forced chipping is against human rights, but, you would have thought forced abortions and forced sterilizations was against human rights. And, human rights are whatever the left says that they want us to do at any given time, It's easy to lose sight of people's rights when you believe they're just random electrical impulses descended from monkeys. What is homeless Mexican doing, guys? I've missed everything. Both Burden and Music Well have gotten him. Homeless Mexican, whatever you're doing, stop it. The 5G towers are going up fast. Seen 2 here in the last 2 months. I have not heard about the 5G towers, Boiler Room. Does that have something to do with the microchips? Who me? We do have the AR fixed. At some point, there will be a video coming. I think the last problem was that I didn't have the gas block pin, stake pins enough. The Sandy Hollow, the root cellar is coming. I've been out there digging on it a little bit. It's been really, really wet. A lot of rain, so it's a soupy mess in there. Lord. But we're working on we're coming up on the very end of digging, and now I just got to decide how deep I'm going to make my footers. So I'm squaring up the back a little bit and one side, and then I'm going to decide how deep the footers are going to go, dig the footers, and I think I'm going to pour an entire floor. I'm not going to just pour footers, I'll pour a whole floor. And then we're going to be ready to start laying block. I have to do my projects one phase at a time. I can't think about the end or I get discouraged. So, the current project will end when the footer's ready to be poured, and then I'll pour the footer, and then we'll go from there and decide. I say footer, floor, and let's go from there. But it is progressing, not quickly, but it is progressing. Northwood Homestead, the AR is doing great. Like I said, we're gonna have an update on that. We're gonna get it out to a long range and maybe do some 500, 600 yard shooting with it. It's been a few years. It's been since I was in the Marine Corps that I've shot at those ranges, so it's going to be interesting. Boiler, hey, Josiah is here. You are a block. Josiah, do you want to identify who you are? If you do, you can. If you don't, we won't. Progressing at a Greg pace. You're going to go ahead and identify who you are. But don't expose the whole family, all right? They may not all want to be out. Josiah Austin is on here. He is my brother. And Madeline's in the background. Everyone loves Uncle Joey. He's everyone's favorite. But there's a passage in Scripture that talks about a friend who sticks closer than a brother. I have a hard time imagining what that would look like, that because my brothers, all of them, but especially Joey, has been well, he's carried me on his back a few times. So anyway, y'all say hello to Josiah, and he's probably scratching his head right now, like, why are all these people listening to this guy? What? Joey's the smart, talented one that everybody loves anyway. So if y'all are lucky, he'll start his own channel, and I'll lose all my subscribers to him. Bunny Hop, why you so salty? LOL. Do you smoke weed? I do not. I don't have any big moral dilemma with it. I did it when I was younger. As I've gotten older, you know, I base all my moral strictures off the Bible. It's not in the Bible anywhere. I've never smoked it. I have no intentions of ever smoking it. I've seen people really wreck their lives with it, and I know the proponents say, "Oh no, it's not." You know, I'm sorry. I've seen some guys wreck their lives with weed. So I've made it this far without it. I don't have any intentions on changing that now. But I am for legalization, simply because we can't afford to keep throwing all these people in jail for it. All right. We'll trade lead for chip. Northwoods Homestead. Hoorah. That's all I can say to that. Google is the devil. You are the greatest big brother a man can have. Oh, that's so sweet. Burden says, nobody's putting any chip in me. Smoking Locust. I work at a crematorium. About a month ago, we had a case come through with a chip in a person's face. Looked like an SD chip for your phone. I'm speculating now that this is some of these people now who they're starting to like voluntarily pretend like they're cyborgs. And they're putting magnets in their fingertips and getting these other enhancements that they say are going to let them function, you know, have them more plugged into technology and everything, which I don't know why anyone would want to do that, but there was a company in Wisconsin that forced the employees to get biochips. I cannot believe that was legal. I'm not saying I can't believe it happened. I do believe it happened. I can't believe it was legal. Right, and Joshua Burlett, you're right. Many will likely voluntarily get chipped. Oh, 100%. You know, it's going to be this wonderful thing. Oh, it makes everything better. You know, your text messages read right into your ear. You know, it'll be for the safety of the children. Yeah, it's coming. Actually, you know what? That's probably what it will be. They'll probably start microchipping children. You know, for combat kidnappings and to be able to manage crises. When there's a school shooter, we'll know where every child is and if they're alive or not. And then you'll just grow up with this microchip, and then so of course, it'll be normal you. All right, Agenda 21, now renamed Agenda 2030. How's the AR coming along? It's doing good, Luke. I think we've got it fixed. You are oh, that's Josiah again. You mean Skynet? Josiah, shucks, I lost him. Yeah, David, Josiah is my brother. He's my third brother. Yeah, Joey, let me introduce you to Pastor Fox. Pastor Fox, Joey. And then cannabis cures cancer. I hear a lot of claims for cannabis boiler room. I don't know. Sister Kate, project's never ending. That is correct, ma'am. Sugar bear things being Satan's tool to obtain his generic form of omnipresence, always counterfeiting Father's creation. That's an interesting observation, Sugar Bear, and I've never thought of. Madeline, Josiah says hello.
Anna's here too.
Oh, Anna's here too, Joey. She says hi.
I say hi.
Zoe says hi. We could have a lot of highs. Y'all ever seen, what's that old show, Walden Mountain? Good night, John Boy. Good night. Good night. Good night. We have that problem here sometimes. Okay, Lefty Gatekeeper. How can we send 18-year-olds to the Middle East and fight banker military-industrial complex wars, but an 18-year-old cannot buy a long rifle according to these proposals by the Left 8 paradigm? You know what's interesting about that Lefty Gatekeeper is that we'll give them, crazy weapons. I mean, I was 20 when I went in the Marine Corps, but I had missiles, and there were definitely 18-year-old guys with me who had missiles, and Mark 19s, you know, fully automatic grenade launchers and whatnot. But you know, they wouldn't let these guys have a beer. All right, where are we at? It'll always be for the children. How does Antifa fit in with Soros? Hey, all right. So Antifa appears to have filtered out of the narrative. You're not hearing much about Antifa lately, and I think that's because Soros has cut back his funding on them. Because the moment passed. You got to remember, Soros, what he wants to do is crash economies so he can make massive amounts of money off of them. He really says that's why he does it. He just wants to do it because he's evil spider, and he loves this illusion of, you know, control and being the puppet master and power and whatnot. And he was back in Antifa while he thought there was this moment where he could really do some damage in America. We got through it. We got past it. He's not, you know, he's going to keep his powder dry for another round. I would expect these Antifa weirdos to come back, but right now their funding's been cut, and no one's buying their hot meals and their sleeping bags and their tents for them, so they've gone back into hiding. So we'll see them come back, but right now they're on hiatus. How should seem to be less than usual? I'm missing something. Oh, Sugar Bear says Antifa was in D.C. earlier today. That's interesting. Glad my kids are grown and I won't have to take part in this. You are right, RLIC. The Wisconsin company who microchipped their employees put out a press release saying it was voluntary and everyone was happy to do it. You know what? I heard, the Soviet Union put out the exact same press releases during the 20s with what they call that? Some sort of ification where they took everyone and forced them onto giant farms and made them be slave labor. And the Russians were like, everyone volunteered and they're happy to do it. And then everyone starved to death for the next 10 years because their agricultural collapse. Where are we at? 18-year-old can't even buy a beer, let alone a martini. And especially not a martini Henry, right, Pastor Fox? Little gun culture humor there for you. All right, how should freedom-loving Americans deal with the UN and CFR? We should defund them. The only reason there is a United Nations is because you pay for it, and I pay for it. We give them billions of dollars a year. Now, they will say, oh, America's only 30% of our certain budget. Or maybe it's their operating budget, or 60%. I can't remember. We're a member of their regular budget. But we're almost all of their, now this is old information, things may be a little different, but all their little missions and special things they do all over the place, we're the vast majority. We could disband the UN tomorrow. We could. We could just make them start paying their parking tickets for one thing. It wouldn't be fun anymore and they'd all go home. But we just cut the money, you know? The UN... This is what makes me so frustrated with the Republicans. I used to be a Republican. I am no longer. Sometimes they're my only alternative, but I'm not happy about it. I'm voting with, holding my nose. The UN has not done one positive thing for the world. You look at how much of their money gets spent on their causes, and it's like 8% or something stupid. It's the worst. They have the worst percentage of money that gets to the end problem. I'm sorry, the end symptom, not the end problem. No money ever gets to the end problem of any charitable organization in existence. They're just awful, and they do far more harm than good all over the world. They're the ones who introduced cholera into Haiti. Horrible earthquake. Countries, again, poor Haiti, kicked in the gut, rolling around in the dirt, hanging on by their fingernails for survival. The UN comes in and gives them cholera. I mean, that's the UN, you know. Everything they do goes that way. They're a terrible organization. They're all the worst downsides of secularism and humanism and giant bureaucracy and overbearing government all rolled into one. I mean, they're just this hideous seething ball of everything we dislike, and we give them billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, and I don't understand it. And there's not even, you know, there's people out there who talk about defunding the UN and it, but not enough. That seriously needs to be. We could do a lot of harm and a lot of power of the bad guys in the world to do more harm if we just defunded the United Nations and said, all right, guys, pay for yourselves. We're providing you a headquarters. You pay for the rest. And by the way, your parking tickets. That's the way to deal with the UN. Stop paying them. Biddy's back. She fed baby. And you know, here's the thing about the Congress controls the purse strings, people. Republicans control Congress. We need to, I hate to say this, call your congressman. But it's true. I mean, we need to use the tools that are available to us, and our government has the tools available to us. We need to start talking to our congressmen about, hey, you know, jerk some of this money back from the UN guys, and they'll roll their eyes at you and say, yeah, well, but they still need to. If they're not hearing it from us, then you know we can't really blame them for not doing it. Maud had babies during the storm today, and what is Maud a goat, or did one of your dogs have puppies, Biddy? Music well, UN out. That pretty much says it all. Dave Burden says they are mostly standing down right now because they want. I think he's talking about Antifa because they want Trump to help them take our guns. Now, the interesting thing, though, Burden, is that Antifa seems to be arming, and kind of vocally are. They've almost sort of grudgingly accepted the Second Amendment, which I think is a good thing because you put a gun in a man's hand and you tell him defend yourself, he's going to start thinking clearly in all sorts of directions. So yeah, I say get them all guns and tell them, yeah, sure, you're responsible for your freedom and your security. Now, what's that mean to you personally? It gets real at that point. I thought the 70s sucked. It just keeps getting worse. Frank, I gotta say now, I love me some Three Dog Night and Neil Diamond. There's just no way around it. The music was awesome in the 70s. Christopher Cunningham wants the UN out of our country. Pastor Fox agrees. You know what, Pastor Fox, I would imagine, I'm speculating here, but I'm assuming you were playing a couple UN missions. Excuse me. I know I was on one UN mission in Haiti. This would have been in 96, maybe even 97 now that I think about it. But yeah, it must have been 90s. It doesn't matter. And what a useless, incompetent, stupid organization. I've never seen anyone less capable of accomplishing a mission than the United Nations. Easily the most ineffective to work with. I don't know if you, I'm sure you did work with them at some point, sir. I don't know if that was your experience or not. Boiler Room actually did just break it down. He is correct. Left wing, right wing, same thing. Live under God's rule. And Northwood says the U.S. seems to fund almost all of the UN. He definitely does. Alrighty, guys, I could keep this up all night, and I didn't even get to anything that I felt like we should talk about. Let me leave you with the handbook. Total Resistance, H. Von Dock. You all know, if you're here, you follow the channel enough to know that I put great stock in what Pastor Fox says anyway. But this appears to have been a home run even by his normal standards. We talk about the militia a lot here and about men taking responsibility for the security and freedom of their own families and communities. This looks like the manual. I said in my last militia video, there are no experts. Sounds like I was wrong. It sounds like the anti-communists in Europe in the 50s and 60s, and by I say anti-communist, that does not mean fascist. I know I don't have to tell you guys that. But it sounds like those folks were, and of course it makes sense that they were thinking the communists were knocking at their door. They were at the UN, pounding the podium. We will bury. This was a matter of essential matter for them. This was an issue of existence for them. So certainly they were thinking correctly. And these were the people who had just gone through World War II, had seen it up firsthand, been threatened once by a monolithic evil. So certainly a lot here. You're going to be hearing a lot out of me about this book. And a few other books I've gotten recently. Last weekend, a gentleman gave me a couple of books. I should plug them, but I don't have them right in front of me. His name is Pete Rambo. I haven't read the books yet, so I'm not. But I've met the gentleman in person, and I've spoken with him, and he seems like he's got his head screwed on straight. But Torah observant, Hebrew roots, that type. The books by Pete Rambo seem pretty interesting and seem like they have some neat perspectives. Do something with those in the future too, just because he took the time to reach out to us and put it in front of us and value our opinion. So certainly we will return that consideration to a certain degree. All right, guys. Biddy, I hope you. Did Biddy tell us what kind of animals these were she had? I didn't see it. Oh, Maud is a goat. Okay. So, Biddy, have fun with the goats. Instead of having to deal with that one old goat, now you got a bunch of little young goats to deal with. I'm not sure which is better. Tell Rick we said hello. Oh, Antifa lost power. I was about to say goodnight, and then people started getting interesting. Antifa lost power when cops demanded removing masks, which is when the KKK lost influence too, by the way. Behind every blade of grass, Frank, that probably is talking about a rifle, and it's probably a conversation I missed. Biddy says she's too blasted old to think about having babies. And Jerry was a good friend of mine. All right, folks, we appreciate you. You have a good evening. Thank you for sticking with us for so long. I love doing these. I would do them every night, but I have to stop myself. I need to pay attention to some of them, not just my hobbies. Y'all take it easy, man. We appreciate you. Oh, and you know what? It's going to take me a while to turn this off, so there'll be a real awkward moment while I'm here fiddling.